All right, recording in progress. Got it. Welcome to the CCPP. I'm happy to be back here. It's amazing to see everybody. I'm Mike Blanton. I'm the director of this thing, which gives me the power to stand in front of you today. It's almost the limits of my power. And the purpose of this meeting today is just because we have a bunch of new people, it's a new semester, just tell everybody what this is, what the CCPP is about.
Come on in, guys.
And come on in. Yeah. And I can't open that closet anymore, so I don't know. Okay. And just some basic information. This probably won't take the whole hour. There shall be snacks, I'm assured, by 1 or 1:15. And so we'll try to stretch this out until there's snacks. Yes. Please take chairs from my office. As long as you keep them. So I'm going to talk about who we are, what we do, how we communicate, and some other, basic things. So what does the CCPP do? And I'll talk about what the brown bag is. It's not normally like this. For example, they're not normally slides. They're only slides in case of emergency, which this is. The stuff that's on here is a mix of things: astrophysics, cosmology, particle theory, particle experiment, all sorts of different topics, many of which blend into each other, like astrophysics and particle theory and connect in a whole bunch of different ways. A lot of this stuff, somewhere in the center here, is dark matter. Dark matter seems like an important problem in physics. So, a lot of this stuff overlaps there. Like, what is dark matter? How does it act? What can we possibly know about it? These are the things that the people in this room do loosely. But I think one of the philosophies of this center is you can't really do part of this. Because when you're doing particle theory, you gotta look at what galaxies and stars are doing. You have to be doing multiple parts of this picture in order to be doing any of them well. And that's one of the philosophies we have. We have this very broad group where people are studying actually even exoplanets, which I don't think have anything to do with dark matter. Ohag, if you find any extrasolar planet astronomers that have already figured out dark matter, then more likely. Yeah. But you need people who are studying stars, studying galaxies, and you need people who are deep in theory. So you need depth as well as breadth. Anyway, that's sort of the philosophy here. And there's a lot of different stuff that goes on. And sort of the one activity that we all do is this thing right here, brown bag. And it's at this time, at this place, followed by cookies. Congratulations, everybody got here. And usually it's a Blackboard talk. As I said, use slides only in case of emergency. And it should be internal. It's almost always an internal speaker, somebody here talking about what they're doing. Like the best brown bags are like, this is what I'm actually doing right now. But putting it in a context that string theorists can understand, an astronomical observer can understand, and everybody can see why it's relevant and important. That's really a challenging thing. But I think it's also one of the purposes of having a group like this is that we all learn how to communicate that way, so that we can be broadly understood. There are no other restrictions on the topics here. In the past, there have been restrictions, like don't use RA and DEC, like don't mention the anthropic principle. I'm taking away those restrictions, except that if somebody does talk about the anthropic principle, Hogg will give a talk about why astronomers use magnitudes. That's the punishment. That's the punishment. Yes. Which I think is actually the sufficient. That's sort of mutually assured destruction.
Like we just talked about the above principles.
It's like wishing for more wishes. Like things like that don't work. Within quotation mark. Anyway, the joke gets funnier every year. Regular brown bags are like I described, but actually what I would like to encourage more of is some of the things we did during the pandemic when we just had Zoom, which were, it's actually quite useful to me to have a brown bag, which isn't necessarily like, this is what I'm doing this week, but it's like, this is why I'm doing any of this at all, right? So Patrick gave one about line intensity mapping, maybe. And those talks I really like because it gives you a little more freedom to sort of explain the general context of the work. And given the breadth of what's going on here, those can be really valuable. And then occasionally we used to also have, especially during the pandemic when we were all on Zoom, like short research updates, which were like actually 2 people, and we said you have 5 minutes each. And of course, that took like half an hour. So there's 5 minutes if people interrupt, which is a good thing. Those short research updates were fun as well. And so I'm scheduling this, especially this semester, given the way things are for me right now. I'm not scheduling things very long in advance. So don't be surprised if you get an email from me that's like, oh, do you want to talk about something in 3 weeks? Anyway. Good. Any questions about that? Any ideas? Any suggestions? No, we're good. Good. All right, so events. So we have that event, we have the brown bag, but also there's an Astro seminar and a HET seminar on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, both at 2 o'clock. And they're journal clubs. And these have sort of changed up thanks to mostly the HET people's initiative is getting these journal clubs going, and they had a really good idea, which we're going to copy for the Astro seminar, which is to have the journal club over lunch, instead of taking the speaker out to a fancy lunch, everybody, people will come back here, have lunch here, and have a journal club. With no preparation, really, isn't there a rule like you're not allowed to prepare?
So there are 2 rules.
There are 2 rules. And the second one is you're not allowed to prepare.
Yeah.
Prepare. Yes.
Really, that should be debated.
And then there's
not as productive as they might have been.
Actually, the third rule is the rules are not to be debated.
Wrong.
I thought the third rule is nobody's allowed to ask dumb questions. Is that no, oh no, there is no such thing as a dumb question. Yeah, sorry, I misunderstood.
The idea is that if you have to prepare, it turns into a seminar and there's a lot of pressure on the speaker. So that's why no preparation. You can look at the paper.
You can redefine prepare. But seriously, it is the case that if you have a question about something, usually everybody else is wondering about it too. I think you can carry that wherever you go in life. If you're wondering about something, probably there are many other people who are wondering about it too, and you should be the one to speak up. There's a Big Apple colloquium, which is sort of an astronomy thing. I don't think that's scheduled yet this year, as far as I know. There is a celebration of Massimo. He's not here because he's on leave, but there'll be a celebration the first week of November. Matt, is there anything I should say about that?
Everybody's invited. We'll be in this room, at least for most of the talks. And yeah, it'll be fun. So that's what you know.
And there's a bunch of other things that happen during the week. In general, if we have we did a survey a couple of years ago and said, do we have, do you want more things to do? Do you want less things to do? And it was like 96-4. We had the exact right number of events. And so we're sticking with that number. Okay. there is, so there are special brown bags. This is the most special brown bag. But next week will be different too, because next week, instead of regular brown bag, again, we're preempting it, but we're preempting it as we do every year for the first and second year graduate students who maybe haven't decided what they're doing for research. And to learn about the opportunities for research here, there'll be a series of very short descriptions of people saying, I work on this, it's very exciting. And so you'll get to know who the people are working in different areas and get a sense of who you want to talk to figure out what's going, what research you want to do. It's also a good thing for people who have been here for a while, just to remind themselves, you know, very often as you work through your PhD, you get deeper and deeper in what you're doing. It could be good to like see, oh yeah, there's a bunch of different things happening here, and be reminded of that. Can be inspirational. So that'll be next week. Okay. Other practicalities. We have a website. All our events are on the website and are described there. We have an email list. If you are not on the email list, you can ask Tim Johnston, our CCP administrator, to be added to the list. Actually, I guess you asked me or Merlin. I think these are old from last year before Tim existed. But if you ask me, it'll be fine too. The postdocs and graduate students have their own lists, and all of the physics lists you can find on groups.nyu.edu. They all start with fas.is. And so if you just search for those, you can see what all the lists and memberships are. And that's generally how we try to communicate, so that everybody knows what's going on.
I'd be a bit stronger there and say, we really expect people to be on those lists, because we often announce things.
Oh, yeah, most of you are put on that list without being asked. But for people who are new, if you're a first year, you may have to ask now. We may not automatically do that to you. Okay, so that's practical stuff. There's some also practical, but also sort of human behavior stuff, which is sort of our conduct in the center. And the motivation, there are two motivations for talking about this. One is that we're a sort of scientific group of people, and that includes the words group of people. And so it's important for groups of people who are working together to treat each other well, because that's a good thing. And so that's great. But in addition to that, we're also a scientific group of people. We're trying to do science, and there are really good reasons to treat each other well as we're doing that. And for me, you know, there are many different ways you can formulate this, but for me, you know, what's key is that when we're talking to each other, when we're giving brown bags and asking each other questions and things like that, the productivity, a lot of the productivity comes from the fact that we can critique each other, right? We can say, wait, how do you know that? Or that equation doesn't make sense to me. Or, you know, what's the evidence for X, Y, Z? You have to be able to ask those questions in an atmosphere of trust. You need productive criticism.
Why are you wasting our time?
Good question. I'm wasting your time with this because it's not obvious, it turns out. And you can tell it's not obvious because there are many organizations where they don't have an atmosphere of trust. I think we do here, which is great. But there are many counterexamples to that. And I think attention to this, you know, helps us actually achieve it. So, you know, in order to achieve that, we should be careful in how we communicate. We should be, you know, use welcoming and respectful language. We should encourage participation from all of our members. A particular thing is people respect people's pronouns, how they want to be addressed. That is important to showing respect to people. Of course, harassment, discrimination is just not acceptable. There are also many university so I'm giving this from like a CCPP, you know, group of people point of view, but of course most of us, I think, employees of an organization called New York University, which has a bunch of policies on this as well, which you can become familiar with and are linked to here. Any questions on that? Comments? Good. Also important, there's some common areas, like there's a kitchenette, there's this room, there's 901 and 902. And they're really all of our responsibilities to keep them, clean. There's nobody whose job it is to make sure that like the dishwasher is run and that stuff isn't strewn around in this room. So just make sure when you use a space, you clean up after yourself and you're respectful of other people in that way as well.
We should add, the least obvious is putting the clean dishes away.
Yes, that is the least obvious. It's so
It's an
convenient.
essential thing. Right?
It is.
The
No,
number
I
of times
totally agree.
People start putting dirty dishes.
Yeah, and then you're
in
like,
my-
oh no, now I have to clear the whole dishwasher. But then you're like, that's like a gift. It gives you like 5 or 10 minutes to just like think and reflect. It's this moment to sort of, take a pause in your day and just, appreciate that. It's a gift. It's not a chore. That's how my children feel about it. So, okay, who are we? Two of the most important people here are our staff. Tim Johnston, who's the administrator, and Mulan Ding, who's the systems administrator. And they really keep this place running and operational at a day-to-day level. And so these are the people you should rely on, and of course, in a respectful way. So I'm sure lots of you have dealt with Tim and Mulan either recently or over the years, and so they do important work. Yeah. There's a bunch of faculty. Here's the list of them right now. These are the faculty and current senior research scientists. There are several that are new. And I don't have this list because I'm going to go through all the names. Actually, I'm not going to erase Kyle right now, but Kyle shouldn't be on this list. I'll keep him up just for one more brown bag. What was I going to say? Oh yes, these slides are linked to this presentation if you ever refer back to them. But of course, this list is also on our website. But new here, in terms of faculty, there's Ahmed Almiri, who is right over there. This awesome picture. This is from some prize he got. What?
My wife looked up.
It's a great picture. And there's quantum information, quantum fields, quantum gravity. You're here for 2 years.
Correct.
And your new faculty at Abu Dhabi, NYU Abu Dhabi. But we'll be in New York City for 2 years, gracing us with his presence. We also have Gaston Gervais, who I think is signing a lease right now. So he's in here. He'll be he's the new physics department clinical professor. I don't know if you want to say anything about his role.
Well, he'll be teaching some of our larger courses, but he's also doing amazing research that fits well into CCPP. He's a particle theorist, very prolific. He works a lot with students, undergraduate, graduate. And he was here before. He was here for a year as a research scientist.
He's a really nice guy.
2018. He's a really great person.
Yeah.
Very energetic. So yeah.
All right. Cool. And we have Monica Pate, who's right back there, who's new faculty, also works on quantum gravity, holographic descriptions of gravity. I hope those descriptions are adequate for both of you, but at some point I'm going to ask you to give brown bags, and so and Gaston as well, and so we'll learn a lot more about what they're doing. And there's actually, normally at this stage, I like talk about each individual person who's new, but actually there's so many this year that I'm not gonna do that. But we have 12 postdocs right now, and hopefully I counted things correctly. This time, there's 6 new ones, Mateo Braglia, Chris Desert, David Dunsky, Isabel Garcia, Akash Goel, and Himanshu Kachandani. Kanchandani. Did I get that? All right. Not, yes. Yeah. Anyway, they're new. Like throughout the year, again, they will give brown bags, and you will hear what they are doing. And we have many graduate students. 40 graduate students are listed here, and there are at least 5 in the first year who are interested in joining us. The bold ones here are sort of people who are new. These are mostly second years, I think. And so there are a bunch of new people in the, who are joining our group. So it's a big set of people in the CCPP. That's like, I don't know, 80 people I've talked about. Good. So there are other partnerships that you should know about. One of which is Abu Dhabi, which Ahmed is part of, but also we have a number of research relationships with the Center for Astrophysics, Particle and Planetary Physics, CAP3. They have funding for visits there and collaborations. There are PhD students there who are here now in their first or second year taking classes. So you'll see them here in among you. And so there's a close relationship there, even though they're, whatever, 8 time zones away. But that's one thing to be aware of, because there's a lot of research going on there. There's a lot of joint affiliations. This is probably totally out of date. Because I didn't update that. With the Flatiron Institute, and in particular its Center for Computational Astrophysics, which is in the Flatiron District uptown. There's a joint cosmology meeting, right? Which happens basically every Friday in some form or another. And the Flatiron has lots of astrophysics things that happen throughout the week in all different fields, and they are open to New York City participants in general. So I recommend actually figuring out what's going on up there, because there's a huge amount of activity.
Mike, I think you should assign one of us to send an email to our mailing list, just summarizing what those things are.
Assign. Excellent.
It's hard to discover if you're not already in the.
Yes, yeah. You kind of have to get onto their mailing list, but I think some of that information is probably in the email that I forwarded last week from Kelly Cruz. Yeah, but email it again anyway. Yeah. Oh no, that's the end. This is
There was an impromptu talk about SDSS at all, if we don't have tweet yet.
if we don't have food yet. I don't know if we have food yet. Neil, can you go check if we have food yet? Thanks.
Okay, that's a great power, if you can tell me what to do.
What?
Can I talk about the journal club?
Talk about the journal club.
Okay,
Yes, sorry, I said.
yeah, thank you. This won't take 20 minutes. Hi, I'm Kara. I'm a third year here in the CCPP. The female grad students do a slightly more formal journal club than what's been going on this past summer, where we have like a speaker who will like talk about a paper. We try to keep it student friendly, so all grad students are welcome. If Particle is interesting to you, you are more than welcome to come. Undergraduates are also welcome to come in whatever capacity they'd like. Postdocs are welcome to attend, but not to present. We try to keep the presenters just to graduate students. Faculty, unfortunately, are not invited at this time. So if you're interested in that, come find me. I'm usually around. We tend to organize on Slack, and we haven't picked a time yet for our meetings. So if you'd like to be involved in that, just reach out to me.
Kara Lynn Giovanetti is her name. What? That's all I had. SDSS, I'm supposed to talk about SDSS? Anybody have any other topics they want to talk about?
Quantum gravity.
Yeah, quantum gravity, how are we gonna get on, how are we gonna solve that one? Yes, the new tutoring position for graduate students. That I don't know anything about.
Cool.
Is this sorry, this is tutoring for graduate students, or this is graduate students tutoring undergraduates? What's the nature of this position?
Before Miriam left, you sent me an email asking me to take it.
What?
Before Miriam left, you sent me some email asking me to take it.
Oh.
Hey, Marcus, can you step in? We
Yeah,
can't
step in,
understand
what
what
is
you're
Marcus
saying.
Fox?
That might be the special undergraduate too.
Yeah, I think so. There was an undergraduate tutor last year.
Right.
That was, and I think there was an attempt to get one of the early year graduate students to take that position, but I don't know anything more about that. That effort probably came out of the DI committee, if it came from Miriam, so that would probably originated there. And the DEI committee, because of Miriam's departure, is in a slight bit of disarray, I would say. But I don't know, Matt, you want to save me here on what the?
Well, I don't know about it. Sort it out there.
Yeah.
Maybe it was something like that, but I don't know what you said.
Yeah.
It actually started the year before, the first year of the thing.
Yeah, it did, but that position sort of required
Right.
a series of special dispensations to get the money for it, but sorry, I don't know the answer to that question.
Maybe the new people could introduce themselves that are here.
Yeah, does anybody want to introduce themselves? Should we ask postdocs to do that rather than putting second years on?
Also, but like, it's not technically our postdoc. He's here as much as our postdoc.
Right, yes, Daryl. You're not on this list.
True.
Introduce yourself, since you're not on the list, stand up.
Hi, I'm Cyril Krikosavinovsky. I'm a starting postdoc over at CCA. I'll be here Mondays and Wednesdays, pretty much. I do work on theoretical cosmology, random topics, neutrinos, CMB, line intensity mapping, whatnot. I enjoy it all.
You're a Kamenkowski person, yes,
Yeah.
We're collecting all of the Mark Kamenkowski's old students here. On this list, I see David. Right?
Yeah.
You want to say something about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. Hey everyone, I'm David Dunsky. I'm a first year postdoc here. So I'm interested in gravitational wave physics, approach in the early universe, astroparticle physics, how we can use astrophysical signatures to detect dark matter, and just general early universe cosmology. So I think we'll talk a little bit more next week about what I'm interested in, and if you're also interested, come talk to me so we can talk a little bit more.
Is he also Kamenkowski student?
He's from the West Coast.
Yeah.
Let's identify where people are sitting. What's your office?
Oh, 951. Yeah.
Okay. And so
When there's
hopefully
that.
we've given you an office.
Yes, I'll be in the visiting office 910.
I wouldn't recognize Isabel.
That's me.
That's you.
Yeah, so I'm Isabel.
Stand up.
Yes,
Yes.
sorry. So I just got here. I'm gonna be a postdoc here for 1 year. My appointment is joined with the IIS. So you'll see me here half the time, typically for sure, like Wednesdays, Mondays and Wednesdays, maybe also Fridays, depending. So I'm a particle theorist, mostly working on various aspects of particle phenomenology, but I'm also interested in some more formal aspects of field theory and also gravity. So hopefully a large overlap with a lot of people here. My office is 918.
Himanshu, since,
Yes. Hi, I'm Manchu. I also am a first year postdoc here. I am interested in quantum field theory and conformal field theory. Most of the work I've done has involved defects and boundaries in conformal field theory, but I'm also interested in holography and CCPP. And my office is 955.
and I wouldn't recognize, Chris.
I'm Chris Desert. I'm a new postdoc here. I'll be here for 1 or 4 years. I have 1 year here and then I have 3 years at Flatiron afterwards. So I'll be around here for the next year, for sure, like Monday through Wednesday at least, but I'm not exactly sure about my full schedule. I am in 1054 and I work mostly on new statistical methods to detect new physics. So in particular, I'm interested in the nature of dark matter, and what astrophysics has to say about all.
Can you more specifically, new signatures in what observables?
Any astrophysical observable.
All right.
Pretty much. If it helps us detect dark matter, then
Okay.
Are you talking next Monday?
No,
Otherwise, we'll.
He hadn't signed
have to
up.
What you mean by new statistical method? We can.
it'll come up. The and Mateo Bradley, I wouldn't recognize him. Must be a particle person. Akash?
Yeah.
Ah, there.
Okay, yeah. So,
Oh, I saw you trying to get in the lobby the other day.
Yeah, so I'm Akash. I'm also first year postdoc and I'm be here for 2 years and then I'm going to be following Ahmed to NYUAD. And yeah, and I work on theoretical high energy physics. So mainly some aspects of holography, things like SYK model, and also some aspects of string theory, like matrix model, the matrix and the minimal string theory and so on. So yeah, I'm excited to learn more about people, what they're doing. And hope to get to know you guys.
Where's your office?
1052, I think.
Yeah. There's a map that gets posted for a few seconds every few minutes. So what I recommend doing is wait for it to come and take a picture of it. And then you can find people. Any luck out there, Neil? No. Tim did say it would be 1:15 at the latest. So, so yeah, but let's keep doing this. I like that. It's a little much to take a second year and be like, what are you doing? But I'm gonna do it to Arjun because he's my student. That's Arjun Suresh.
so technically this is unfair because I'm only a first year PhD student.
That's right. Yeah.
So I've been here for a year for my master's and then I moved to the PhD program. And I've been looking at the Eddington ratio distributions of nearby radio region and mine. And I sit in 9:45.
Yes, yeah. Can't think on Janelle. She's not here. I don't see her. All
I
right.
put Marius on the spot.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey everyone, I'm Marius. I'm a second year grad student now. I mostly do particle phenomenology, in particular looking for dark matter through astrophysical signatures. Count as my advice here.
I like this method. Does anybody else want to put their? Yeah.
My name is Sasha. Yeah, I'm second year graduate student and I'm interested in quantum theory. Yeah,
Say your last name again, I didn't.
Sasha.
That's first name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, that was good. Well, it'd be nice to just meet the other people, even if they just stand up if they're here.
Just stand up and wave your hand, you know, in any of this. Your name is
I'm Cammy.
Cameron Norton.
Yeah. I've been doing research on primordial black holes from back in the bubble.
But yeah, I'm working with, I guess, learning more about deep gravitational lensing. Using gravitational lensing as a question for dark matter lenses. And my office is now 816.
All right. So I'm gonna break this up now. We're gonna wander over there. But there will be food arriving.
Just check, still no.
Still no food. It'll be arriving very soon. I will not give an impromptu talk about SDSS. It would take too long. Take the rest of the afternoon because I would just keep talking.
What about magnitudes?
I already did the magnitudes today, quickly during class. And then Paul Chaikin kept walking by and being like. But there we go. I'm gonna break this up unless anybody else has any more things to say.
All jokes.
You can tell
Knock,
us.
knock. The interrupting cow.